You're watching the ANEC Sports Podcast on YouTube. The show starts right now.
Welcome to episode 15 of the ANEC Sports Podcast. My name is Sam Fred, founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, covering 30 schools across Northeast Indiana and parts of Elkhart County. That includes the ACAC, the NECC, and the Northeast 8. And so just one fall sport remains, and that is football. Volleyball just ended yesterday. Angola finished as a state runner-up in the state finals of Class 3A at the hands of Indianapolis Roncalli. They complete a perfect season for the Roncalli Royals as they win their, I believe that it was their fourth state championship in their program's history. Angola finishes second in that matchup there. So congratulations to Angola on a successful season going 32-5. We also want to congratulate our neighbors down in Huntington, Indiana. The Carroll Chargers win their very first volleyball state championship as Carroll, yes, the Carroll Chargers sweep the Yorktown Tigers in straight sets at Worthen Arena. So Carroll wins their very first volleyball state championship, well-deserved for Coach Sinish and that Carroll program. They've been knocking on the door for a long, long time now, and now they finally bring home a state championship to Carroll High School. So obviously, we will look back a little bit on the volleyball state finals. I will also be discussing some of the things from the opening week of the Indiana High School girls basketball season. Plus, we briefly want to mention the boys basketball season, as tomorrow is the first day of practices for the high school boys basketball season. And then we will recap the football sectional championship game that took place area of our team were able to advance to thanks to their performances on Friday. We will discuss all those things as we transition to the talk around the corner. We begin our talk around the corner by discussing the volleyball state finals that took place on Saturday. Angola was one of the participants in these state finals matches in Class 3A. Ironically, all four of these matches went to 3 sets, and that was it. And that hadn't happened in about, I think Greg Redstraw said it had been since 2017, 2018, I believe it was. So about 6 or 7 years since that happened, where all 4 matches went no more than 3 sets. Angola had a good start in the first set. They were up 10-8 against Roncalli. Played very loose in those first 18 points. Roncalli, the weight of their shoulders of an undefeated season. Maybe just the nerves were catching up to them just a little bit in the first set. Angola was taking some chances with their serves. I mean, their first point was literally an ace. So Angola took chances early in that match. They were loose. They did everything they could, but I think Angola made way too many mistakes in that match, and Roncalli had a few too many runs. Roncalli, even in that first set, they went from being down 10-8 to being up. I mean, we're talking, 7-8 points in a matter of the next 10 points. And that was the difference right there. Had Angola continued their start in the first set and maybe even win that first set, we're probably talking about a different match right now where maybe this goes 5 sets because, Roncalli hadn't really been playing behind the whole year other than maybe 4 other times. And they hadn't lost a set in the entire state tournament. But unfortunately, Roncalli is a really good volleyball team. If you're making too many mistakes and Roncalli executes, they're just too efficient of a team. They got too many college commits there. You got this, I think it was Stolly and then it was Bell. Those two were the standouts on that Roncalli team. They were excellent for the Royals, and they were very efficient. Every time they had they swung the ball for a kill, it was going right on the line. It was a college kill. It was a college level kill. They were making tremendous plays, and the thing was, they weren't necessarily the biggest team, as the broadcast alluded to on IHSA Champions Network. But Roncalli was definitely really good at executing their game plan. And I think Angola I think by the time they had a chance to even really fully adapt to Roncalli's style, they fell too far behind by that point. Angola made too many mistakes, too many service errors. Maya Harris never got going really until the third set. And by that point, it was just too little too late for Angola. They just never got things going with their serving. That was one of the key things they had to do. They didn't swing the ball very well. They struggled against Roncalli's defense. Every time Angola had a surge, they either made a mistake or Roncalli had a response. Overall, it just wasn't their night. And it's a game that doesn't define what Angola did this year. It's not necessarily the best team in Angola history, but it's the team that got over the hump. And I think that's the thing we will look back with Angola is it's not necessarily the greatest team Angola's ever had. It's still a great team. Don't get me wrong. But Angola certainly had a team this year that was finally able to get past regional, something they hadn't done in the school's history. And now they have a chance. Now that Angola is on the map in terms of volleyball. Now this is an opportunity for Angola to really grow over the next 10 years so that we don't just say, well, it was that one moment in their history they went to state. Now they can go and continue that run of success and knock the door again and again and again and again. And it happened with Yorktown. That's happened with many of the great programs over the years is just get to state once, get there once, and who knows what could happen from there. And I think right now you're seeing a culture of volleyball success with Angola. The Team Pineapple success has been a remarkable impact for Angola under Lloyd Ball's ownership of that company, of the AAU circuit. Obviously, Fort Wayne Indiana has grown tremendously, leaps and bounds in volleyball over the last 10 years or so, and we saw that with Carroll winning their very first volleyball state championship, the first in Fort Wayne, Indiana since Bishop Dwayner won state in, I'm pretty sure it was the 2020 season that Dwayner won that state championship. So this is certainly a changing for the good for Fort Wayne, Indiana volleyball. And now people in Muncie, Indiana are starting to take notice. Fort Wayne, Indiana is a serious volleyball city, which is exciting to say that for sure. Looking into football, so Class 1A South Adams, once again in Grant Mosier fashion, South Adams finds a way to win a sectional championship after defeating Tri the week prior after being down 25 points. Came back to beat Tri the week before that. Last Friday, South Adams in a shootout, which, again, if you're in a shootout with South Adams, that's not a good sign for the opponent. South Adams found a way once again to beat Madison Grant, the fourth-ranked team in Class 1A, 43-36, and Titus Lehman threw for over 400 yards in that game for Mr. Lehman. And anytime Titus Lehman can throw for over 300 yards, you know you're going to have a chance to win any game. And South Adams right now, man, they're just it's like lightning in a bottle right now for South Adams. And you look at the Starfires, I know people are going to be overlooking them because of that matchup with North Miami, the Warrior Bone offense. We know what North Miami can do up front. But I'll just say this. If South Adams can continue to throw the ball well, I'm just saying this right now. Just don't ever count out South Adams. They have made deep runs before back in 2020. They went all the way to state in Class 1A. So don't overlook the Starfires at all. They have the quarterback. They have the talent. And now they're starting to improve defensively. And now you have a situation for South Adams where you are 2 wins away from Lucas Oil Stadium. That's exciting right now for the South Adams Starfires. So congratulations to them. The Jets, Adams Central, they were down early. I think they were down 12-7 against Eastside in 2A sectional 35. They came back to win 41-19. Eastside, nice finish to the season after a very slow start. They've had injuries, adversity hit Eastside this year, and they still managed to have a 500 season, which I think to me is a success for the Eastside Blazers to go 6-6 after the struggles they went through this year. Adams Central has looked really good since the first game of the season, and they're improving each and every single game. So now they come in 11-1. They're going to be hosting Eastern Greentown, who won their very first sectional championship, defeating Tipton 21-15. So Adams Central will be seen as a favorite in that matchup against Eastern, and it seems like on paper we could very well see that Adams Central Lafayette Central Catholic semi-state, which if these two teams were to meet, they would be going to Central Catholic. These two actually met not too long ago. I think it was the first time Adams Central went to the state finals during that streak of, 3 straight years going to the state finals. I believe they played Central Catholic the first time in that of those 3 runs to the state finals. So the Jets and Central Catholic do have some familiarity over the years, and Central Catholic, I believe they're one of the top 2 ranked teams in all of Indiana in Class 2A. So they are going to be a force if they were to face Central Catholic, but they, excuse me, I apologize for that. They must take care of Eastern Greentown first. Then you look at Class 3A. Bishop Luers had a 20-point lead to start that contest with Mississinawa. Mississinawa came back to cut it to 7, but Luers held on to beat the Ole Miss Indians, who were undefeated before that game, 35-28. So Bishop Luers is at McConaughey, undefeated McConaughey, going to be taking on Rays. McConaughey, a pretty good football team, but I think Bishop Luers might be the favorites coming into that matchup because of the athleticism. They're battle tested. They got a really good defense at Bishop Luers, and I don't know if McConaughey is going to be able to score at the level they're used to against Bishop Luers because of their elite defensive playmakers they have. Even if Luers is sluggish at times offensively, the defense to me is where I think Luers has the edge against the McConaughey Braves. But we'll see how things pan out. We've seen upsets before in the state tournament, and I would consider McConaughey a underdog for a 12A team against Bishop Luers. But I would say it's going to be an interesting game, no less. You look at Garrett. They defeated West Snowball by the score 21-20. West Snowball scored first off a turnover, ironically, and the Chargers led 7-0. Garrett responded like they've done all year. Calder Hefty found it through a 44-yard touchdown pass to Parker Skelly to tie the game, and then Garrett was able to get a touchdown from, I believe it was Cam Rubel, to take a 14-7 lead. Garrett then eventually was able to extend it to 21-7. Garrett controlled the clock most of the game. West Snowball struggled to move the ball once again. And Seth Pruitt, I mean, we looked back at the stats between Garrett and West Snowball. The only 2 times that Seth Pruitt did not rush for over 100 yards were against the Garrett Railroaders. I think he ran for only 39 yards in week 6 against the Garrett Railroaders, no TDs. And then the game against Garrett this time, I think he ran for maybe half of that, maybe about 15 yards on 14 carries. I mean, it's just remarkable how Garrett has been able to stop the run so effectively against a team like West Snowball. And despite that, West Snowball came back, and they were an extra point away from tying the game going overtime. You don't know what could happen in overtime. Just as we talked about Huntington Norfolk, we'll talk about them in a matter of moments, but that game could have easily went the other way had Garrett not been able to get some bounces go their way and then play some good defense when it mattered most. So congratulations to Garrett Railroaders. It's a special season for this team and for the Garrett community. 12-0 season for them, the first 12-0 season in Garrett's history. It's one of the greatest teams they ever had. It just sucks that only one of those teams had to move on. And Garrett, of course, it had to be the Garrett Railroaders to go to regionals. They're going to be hosting Knott's and that really good running back named Miles McLaughlin, who's only a junior. Garrett will be the favorite on paper, not a huge favorite, but they'll be favored just because Garrett is at home. They are also very physical up front. They're a very senior-laden team. I would say Garrett has the more talented front line, I think, than Knott's does. Garrett's pretty battle-tested as well. And I think in terms of quarterbacks, Garrett has the advantage because of Calder Hefty. And if Calder Hefty has another really good game, I think Knott's has no chance of beating Garrett just because Hefty makes all the difference in the world for the Garrett Railroaders. But I think the thing with Garrett is all season long, Garrett has been really good about taking care of the football, running the football, playing to their style, and being the more physical team. They're a hardworking team. That's what Garrett's known for best. And I think that's the thing we look at with Garrett is if they can keep this up and they can stay healthy, I think Garrett could possibly, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to, but Garrett going to state is not an impossible situation. They could go to state. They have the team to do so. And I think that's the thing that's so exciting for Garrett fans is that this is the 50th anniversary of their very first and only state championship in football. And yet we could see something similar, at least going to the state finals and whatnot, and give Garrett another memory of their 100-year history of Garrett football. And it's an exciting time for the NECC and for Garrett. I know West Noble fans don't like hearing that, but West Noble should not feel disappointed whatsoever. They had a tremendous season. They went 10-2. Unfortunately, they just didn't play well enough in the end to beat Garrett. And that's just the truth. West Noble just didn't get the job done. They played a good enough game. They just didn't play better than Garrett. And that's just simple as that. But Garrett, once again, has an opportunity against Knott's to get to semi-state for the first time since 2016. And then 4A, Huntington North wins their first sectional since 1993. They were down 14 points at the start of the game against Lebanon. They came back to force overtime. And then Johann von Sander-Slavin hits a 31-yard field goal in overtime to defeat the Lebanon Tigers 31-28 to win their first sectional since 1993. They're going to East Noble, take on the East Noble Knights, a team they've lost to several times. They've never been East Noble, but now they have an opportunity to win a regional championship because the East Noble team that outscored Leo and Dwayne combined 59-0 in the past 2 weeks. So East Noble, a legitimate football team. They are for real, and many think they might be a team that could even get to the state finals in Class 4A. That's how good East Noble is on offense and defense under Alex Stewart. And so those are the teams left in our football coverage at NEC Sports, and we want to wish them the best of luck as they prepare for regionals in football. But as we wrap things up, that is the talk around the corner. And so without further ado, let's get to our interviews. I'm here with the head girls basketball coach of the Bluffton Tigers, the longtime coach in this area, Doug Curtis. Coach, welcome to the show. How are things going for you?
Great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Coach. Thank you for coming on the show. So first off, let's talk about the transition from last year to this year. Obviously, last season's team had a lot of success. Your first year as head coach, they went 18-7 on the season, second place in the ACAC, coming up just short of the hands of Jade County. You also lost to Bishop Lures in the sectional semifinals. When you look at where the team is from year one to year two, where have you seen the biggest change?
I think a couple different things that I've noticed that have stood out in practice up to this point. We've only played one game, but our depth is a little better than it was last year, and maybe a higher level depth than we had it last year, being in the system a year and working on it again all summer, and then getting this year started has helped us with that. And then I think the second thing that I've noticed is our shooting is getting better. When I came in, I loved our athletic ability. I didn't love our consistent shooting. And so we worked on that all last year, and we saw some improvement in that, but are definitely seeing it in practice right now. So really looking forward to see where that pans out in games and how we shoot the basketball.
And yeah, and you talked about this just moments ago, but this Bluffton team returns a lot back from last season. I think you return, I believe, your entire starting five from last year, if I remember right. Isabel Stout's back, who's your leading scorer right now. You have Conley Alt, only a junior. You have Tressa Renner. I believe you still have Maddie Sodnison, I believe, still at Bluffton as well. You have Maren Schreiber, one of your leading rebounder from last season as well. You talked about the shooting ability, and that was an obvious area of weakness from last season and whatnot. Where do you see, now that you talked about that improvement of shooting, how does that help provide more of those advantages for your size and especially the athletic ability in the post?
Yeah, well, I mean, every place I've coached, we've really focused on getting the ball inside versus man and zone. And, we're willing to shoot the three, but our main focus has always been to get the ball inside. And the way to get the ball inside is make teams respect what you do from the outside. And we've been able to do that in most places I've coached. When I came in last year, I thought that was definitely a weakness we had, is having more than a couple people that could shoot. Haley Gibson, who we did lose, went to St. Francis. She shot the three pretty well last year. And Madison Sonicson shot the three pretty well last year. And then everybody else was kind of hit and miss. So I don't think we could space the floor the way I like to space the floor against man and zone. So that's, what we're hoping to see this year. We've put a lot of time in on that. And we got a new freshman coming in, Chloe Dick, that's also a really good three-point shooter. And so, she adds to the mix there besides some of our other kids just really working on their game and shooting the ball better.
And yeah, Gibson was Bluffton's consistent three-point shooter last year. Now she's at St. Francis with a nice team down in Fort Wayne and whatnot. You look at the first game of Canterbury. I know it's only just the first game in Canterbury, not the program they were about 10 years ago, but you looked at that team, 6 of 13 from 3, 32 rebounds. You had, what was it, like almost everybody, I think the entire team scored at least a basket. Isabel Stout had 25 points in that game. I know it's just the first game and there's a lot you can to improve on from that first game. What are some initial takeaways from that game?
Well, what I really enjoyed about the beginning of that game was we've really focused on trying to be more relentless than we were last year. I thought we were really good in games as we got going. I didn't think we always started that way. And being our first game on Saturday night, I thought we were, at 'em from the tip the entire time. We have great conditioned athletes, and we have, like I said, good depth, and we want to continue to do that for 32 minutes. Now, we couldn't really do that on Saturday, but at least I wanted to see that from the tip and from the very beginning, and I thought they did a really good job. Bella had 25 points in 13 minutes. I mean, we couldn't play our players the amount of minutes that we wanted to play our minutes, but play them in their minutes. But she just came out super aggressive, and we got up and down the floor, and she's really good in transition anyways, which is part of the reason she's been our leading scorer. So, she the 25 points in 13 minutes. Who knows how that would have went? But yeah, it'll be really good to get to that next step and play the next best team, which will be Tuesday at Northfield, and they're better than Canterbury, and we'll see a little bit more then.
We'll talk about the upcoming schedule later on, but I do want to discuss about the seniors with the Bluffton Tigers. Obviously, defense is a calling card for you during your time as a head coach and whatnot. I know you've talked about this in the past with your seniors, but for those that don't know about this senior class at Bluffton, talk about what these kids mean for you and for the Bluffton community.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great situation where when I came in last year, they had already been really well coached by the coaching staff that was there before me. And the defense was a huge part of what they did. And we came in, and the only thing we did different defensively is my philosophy is a little bit more up-tempo defense, create some more opportunities, things like that. So we took what they were already really good at and tried to get a little more aggressive and a little more up-tempo with it. And you're exactly right. These 5 seniors we have, Madison Sonicsen's a move in from Norwell, but the other 4 had been there, and then Sonicsen joined us last year. They've really taken a hold of those changes that we made defensively. And, it's a special group because of what they already had, the time they had put in and the effort they had put in before I even got there. And then what they've really worked on in the year and a half that I've been there so far, just a little over a year that I've been there so far, it's going to end up being we hope it's going to be a really special season for them, but it's definitely going to be a good group to follow.
Mm-hmm. And all these kids are multi-sport athletes, which Bluffton is a 2A school, so you do expect those multi-sport athletes to be a commonality at Bluffton and whatnot. Talk about the ACAC. You coached at Adams Central before you came to Bluffton. You know about the ACAC because of its rich history of basketball. There isn't that many members in the conference, so it does provide you a nice balance of providing those different variety of opponents to prepare you for the sectional. Talk about the uniqueness of playing the ACAC in preparation for the state tournament and whatnot.
Yeah, well, the one thing that the ACAC has going for them is it's been around a long time, and there's been a lot of good basketball teams that have come out of there. So, we're happy to be ready to get into the schedule and see what we can do with that. Last year, we were, like you said, undefeated going into the Jay County game and ended up second in the conference. I didn't think we played very well at Jay County, which was unfortunate for us. And Jay County was a really good basketball team last year. They won like 22 or 23 games. So it definitely prepares you for the conference tourney, and it prepares you for the sectional. We take good pride at Bluffton. Since I've been there, we're taking making sure we're talking about we want to win, have an opportunity to win both the conference and the conference tourney. Those are both big things. There's good teams in there. So, yeah, we're looking forward to the conference season getting started, and hopefully we can improve a lot before we get going with that.
Yeah, and Bluffton still seeking to win their first conference championship in girls basketball, which I know has definitely been in the discussion in the past for the Bluffton girls basketball program. I want to look at the schedule real quick here because you got quite a few games in the month of November. So Tuesday, you're hosting Northfield. Saturday at East Snowball. That's going to be the ANEC game of the week. You're at Mississauga on the 19th, and you're hosting Huntington North New Haven on the 22nd, 26th. And then you conclude the month of November by opening ACAC play at South Adams. Coach, when the games that I just mentioned, what are some things that stand out about that schedule, and particularly with the East Snowball game? Because that was a 3-point game last year at your place. Now you go up to Kendallville, a familiar place for you, going against the East Snowball Knights. Talk about some things that stand out about that opening month of the schedule.
Yeah, it's going to definitely prepare us for the rest of the year. I thought it did last year too. A couple changes in there. We lost a couple teams that we had played last year and picked up Huntington North in there. And then I think the other pickup we had that's here early in the season was the Canterbury game there, but we had played them before, so that was an existing contract. But yeah, Huntington North was a big one that we picked up in there because they're really good defensively and they're physical, and that's where we try to get to and the way we try to play. They want to play probably a little slower. We want to play a little bit faster, but it'll be a good match. Two people button heads, and their schedule's probably better than our schedule, so that'll be good for us. Like you said, East Noble was a huge game last year. We had scouted them. I knew that was going to be a big game in determining our early season record, so I'd scouted them, put some time into them, and like you said, it was a really close game. We played them this summer in the Carroll League. It was another really close game. So I'm expecting a good fight on Saturday up at East Noble. Hopefully we'll be ready for that. Another tune-up game, and I know they still have to play Dwanger this week, so they'll have a good tune-up game there.
Yeah, but Dwayner's pretty similar team to some of the teams you've alluded to earlier. Northfield's a team that also had a pretty decent run in the playoffs last year. They went to regionals in their classification, I believe they fell to Hamilton Central in the regional last year. So Northfield does have some postseason experience and whatnot, and so you're going to have that matchup, and then the matchup with East Snowball. Coach, when you talk a little bit more about East Snowball, obviously they have a very talented team, a lot of young kids on that team, a lot of sophomores on this team. I look at Avery Amstutz, I look at Ryan Davis, another one. They're quick, they're athletic, and they're gritty as well. What are some things that catch your eye when looking at East Snowball?
Well, one thing and it's happened, like I said, last year and in the summer, is they're going to be as aggressive as we're going to be. So you're going to have two teams that are going to go after each other in the half court. They may go after us in the full court. I saw they did that with Westview a little bit on Saturday when I scouted them. We usually don't do a lot of full court stuff. We're more half court trap and in the half court, but definitely two really aggressive teams, pretty athletic teams going at each other. As they try to push tempo, like we try to push tempo and get some easy shots to start with. So it'll be really important for both teams to get back and get the 3-point line covered. Both teams try to drive the ball a lot. So we're very similar in each other. We try to play, a lot alike. So it'll be fun. Saturday's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, but I would say transition defense will definitely play a huge role, knowing that these two teams are going to be playing fast and whatnot. Coach, as you look at the early part of the season, what's the key part about evaluating the early season process for the Bluffton Tigers to make sure that not only are you getting that success, but you're still looking at the ultimate goal of being able to play your best basketball towards the end of the season?
Yeah, I think it's that constant improvement, especially for us at the offensive end. I don't think we probably lost, in my opinion, out of 24 games, we probably lost one game last year defensively. Eastbrook was really hard to handle. We tried something in that game that we hadn't done in some of the other games, and I didn't get out of it probably as quick as I should have got out of it. And I really thought maybe that was the only game we lost defensively. Every other game that we lost last year was because of our failure at the offensive end, either not shooting the ball well enough or, not making enough free throws or whatever that might be. So I think for us, it's that constant improvement at the offensive end. We're gonna compete defensively. We're gonna be physical. We're gonna rebound the basketball. Those things aren't going to change. It doesn't matter who plays for us. But offensively, you got to be able to put the ball in the basket and be able to either stay in games or when you're in a game, get ahead at the end and give yourself a chance to win. So that's what we'll be, looking at all the time. Again, Saturday was a good start in that with Canterbury. We played really well offensively, and then Tuesday will be a step up with that with Northfield to see if we can continue to step up, and Saturday will be another step up. So, we'll be looking at those little things offensively to see how we can improve both our shooting and our inside play, and maybe get more offensive rebounds, get to the free throw line a little bit.
Mm-hmm. This is Doug Curtis, the head girls basketball coach of the Bluffton Tigers. This is your 21st season coaching girls basketball. You've been coaching basketball combined for about 30 years now. It's crazy to think about it. You talked about your time at Lakeland. Most people probably remember you from your Angola days, the Northup days, the DeKalb days, Adams Central, most recently before you came to Bluffton. Coach, when you look back in these long number of years you've been coaching basketball, what are some things you're most appreciative about your run as a coach?
Well, I think the great opportunity that you get as a coach is to be able to, be around the kids, coach kids that want to do that sport and want to put their time and effort into that sport. As well as, I've loved my assistant coaches that have been in those situations too. Those are people that want to put time in. You obviously don't get into coaching for the money at this level. So those are people that want to put time in and love the sport, want to put time into the sport. So, that's probably my biggest take back from all that is, I made that decision a long time ago at Purdue that, I wanted to be able to get out there and work with kids and spend time coaching kids. And, way back when, you coach 3 sports. So I coach football and coach basketball. I've coached baseball and track and golf. So we've coached all kinds of sports, but basketball's been the one mainstay for me. And now that it's almost a 12-month-a-year job, you kind of get the other sports out. And, we put a lot of time into basketball, and then every once in a while take a month off there and give the kids a break. And, but I love the opportunity to continue to work with kids and continue to work with my assistant coaches. Those are great opportunities that come about, every single year in these last 39 years of teaching that I've had.
Mm-hmm. That is Doug Kurz, the head girls basketball coach of the Bluffton Tigers. Coach, any final thoughts before we let you go today?
Hey, I just appreciate everything you do and giving us an opportunity, all us coaches and teams, an opportunity to promote ourselves and talk about big games. And, it's all for the kids. We all do it for that reason, and you do that too, and we really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Coach, and good luck this week as you take on the Northfield Norse and the East Snowball Knights this week.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm here with the head football coach of the now sectional champion Huntington North Vikings, Mike Eshbach. Mike, how are things going for you?
Doing well. Can't, from a football standpoint, I don't know if you can ask for them to be much better.
That is for sure. It's a wonderful Sunday for the folks down in Huntington. Folks, Mike, before we get to talk about that sectional championship game, I do want to talk about leading up to the season. Obviously, last season did not go as you would have liked at Huntington North. I think you went 1-9 last season, couple close games in between, but you returned a lot back. Now, obviously, there was some hope for what this team could do. Just talk about the change from what the team brought from last year to this season.
Really, there is not much of a comparison. When you look at just a total overhaul, I really think that's kind of what it was. In fairness to our seniors last year, going from, a wing tee, a high percentage run type of an offense to spread, there's a learning curve. And just like a football IQ. I mean, sometimes when, you would say stuff, they would kind of look at you in a way where it's like, what are you talking about? So really, we had to start just from a knowledge standpoint at the very, very bottom. And then, I don't think we were very strong. and we didn't have a good foundation of experiences to kind of rely on. And so when things got bad, it was pretty easy to hang your head and those kinds of things. So, when the season was over, our guys really made a commitment to taking care of business in the weight room. I thought we did a really, really good job of just improving fundamentals, improving football knowledge, and those kinds of things. And then, last year we didn't have Tatum Brooks or Marcus Linker. They were both hurt, in I think the beginning of the second quarter of the second game. So, when you kind of add a whole lot of things together, there's really not a big comparison between last year and this year. But that being said, it's been a process this year of just trying to get our guys with that foundation piece and just believing they can win.
Yeah, that is for sure. Having both the Linker kids on the team now makes a ginormous difference for your spread offense and whatnot, and having a quarterback that can understand that offense is very impactful as well. We'll talk about the individuals in a matter of moments here, but I just want to talk about the emphasis of having a good start. That's something the program hasn't had since joining the NEA. And I know it was Eshbach, not the best team of Eshbach teams, and Northrop had their ups and downs and whatnot. How important was it to go into NEA play? Just some confidence, a 2-0 start.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think anytime you play Eastbrook, Jeff Adamson is a Hall of Fame coach. And so he's won a whole lot of games, maybe where he didn't always have the most talent. And so that was a big one for us. And I look back on that game and where we were then and where we are now, and I think we're light years ahead. But that was a big one. I think that was a big one for our kids, for our program, and then going into week 2, Northrop was sky high. They'd scored 58 points or something like that on New Haven. And at one point in that game, they had us down 14 points. And so our guys kind of really gritted that out. And, unfortunately for them, they lost their starting quarterback and some things kind of rolled on them, and we took advantage of that. But to start 2-0 is a big deal against, that Northrop team was really, really talented. I mean, I don't know that there are very many teams in the state with 2 receivers like they had, and to match that with an outstanding quarterback as well.
Mm-hmm. I want you to talk specifically about your quarterback at Huntington North, Tony Decker. And I've always made the claim that he's the best athlete that nobody in the state talks about outside of this area. We talked a lot about Tony Decker the last several weeks, and he's just an RPO quarterback. Just the way he moves the football, his vision is just next to none. Talk about the impact that he's brought as a senior to this football team, in addition to all the seniors you have on your team, not excluding the Linker kids.
Sure. Well, when you look at Tony last year, he was our offensive MVP with 356 yards receiving. And so he had played a little bit of quarterback. He was our backup quarterback last year, but not even moving him, just working with him. Like I said, there's a big difference going to the spread. And so he spent all winter throwing and those kinds of things. And so our 7-on-7 this summer probably wasn't outstanding. It wasn't terrible, but again, it was one of those things I had to tell him, hey, 7-on-7 is not going to translate necessarily, or it's not an indication that if you're not a great 7-on-7 team, that you're going to be a bad football team in the fall. But just to kind of throw out some stats that Northeast Indiana probably doesn't know or isn't aware. And again, I don't have the stats in front of me. I should have, but I don't. He has about little over 800 yards rushing and 23 rushing touchdowns. He has over 2,000 yards passing and 25 touchdowns. So, I mean, he is pushing 50 total touchdowns. I don't know it's historic, I think, in this area. I'm not a history buff. I don't know at the state level, maybe even where that falls, but it's got to be somewhere. I mean, maybe New Pal had a running back that had a whole bunch of touchdowns, but from a quarterback standpoint, he's really having a historic season, I think.
And not to mention East Central last year had a Josh Ringer who had a bunch of touchdowns of his own last year for East Central. When I look at Tony Decker, he kind of reminds me of from your time at East Side, like Connor Dove had a similar
Sure.
impact to East Side where he had that athletic ability, right? He still could throw the football, but he was so quick. Defenses had a hard time stopping him and whatnot. And I look at another guy, Laban Davis, just a few years ago, had this similar impact as well. So I look at a guy like Tony Decker. It's like it's a reminiscent to what East Side went through when they had their quarterbacks as well under your leadership.
And a lot of the things that we did at Eastside we're doing now, So a lot of it is really the same kind of philosophy,
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the sectional championship game against Lebanon. Obviously, a long road trip down into central Indiana. Lebanon also had a really good quarterback of their own. I think he threw for about 33 touchdowns this season, over 3,000 yards, and they were a very talented team. You watch that film, I can see why it took overtime to beat this team, but that was a really good Lebanon team that your team beat. Coach, you had an opportunity to win that game in regulation. Things didn't work out, the block, field goal, whatnot, and you went to overtime. Overtime happens. Sully Stoll gets the sack that prevents Lebanon from kicking a field goal, and eventually you win that game. Take me through the sequence into how your team was able to recover from that missed opportunity forward and still be able to get the job done in overtime.
Well, I mean, we were on the 10-yard line, and probably the one guy that I don't even want to say goes unnoticed, but I think people in northern Indiana don't really know is their slot receiver. Probably one of the best athletes, pure athletic ability football guy that we faced all year. Every time he touched the ball, you took a deep breath and it's like, oh my gosh. But he returned a punt, and he's the one who ended up blocking that kick there at the end of the game. But we were on the 10-yard line, so right around the 10-yard line, I guess. So a 27-yard kick. I didn't panic. I didn't think it was that big of a thing. If I panicked a little bit, I felt like at least maybe I left just a touch more on the clock than what I needed to, with about 15 seconds to go in that game. But we went into overtime. We won the toss, and at that point, I personally felt as if it was an advantage for us, just because the field was condensed, and that was an advantage for us. Sully had a big time sack there at the end, and knocked them out of field goal range, and so for us, then I thought, hey, there's no pressure here. We just can't do anything silly, and you talk about another historic season. Statistically, Johan has had that. I mean, I think we've only missed maybe 2 with that block, maybe 3 PATs all year. So he's like 55 of 58 or something crazy like that. So, so it was just one of those things. I didn't hesitate. I had confidence in our guys, and like I said, I don't think that they were down in the dumps. They were going to play this thing through, and man, we went into that game thinking that we were 2 very evenly matched teams. And that's really what it turned out to be.
And it played out that way. So Johan von Sondersleben, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. I'm aware he's a foreign exchange student at Huntington North, and very good kicker, as I've been told. And he really showed that in that 31-yard field goal. Just describe the type of player he is, the kicker. I know we don't talk a lot about kickers in football, but he's kind of an interesting guy for your team.
Our kids absolutely love him. He, he's got a great personality. American football is a lot different than it is in Europe. And, for him, it would be like a club sport, and it would be something that they would just do like an intramural type of thing. So to put him in a situation like that, where that stadium was packed on both sides, I mean, I have no idea what the attendance was, but it was an environment that I promise he hasn't seen before. And to say he was nervous would probably be, a huge understatement. Um, and to be honest, the first kick he probably hit better than the second kick, when you just hear the thud of the football. So, but he was nervous. I know he was, but once he made it, though, our kids embraced him, and man, what a great feeling.
Oh, I'm sure it is for that Huntington North program to win their second ever sectional championship. And now you're going to Kendallville on Friday to take on your NEA rivals, the East Snowball Knights, a team that your program, let's face it, has had its struggles against East Snowball over the years, but they've been close a few times. And this season, you were up at halftime against East Snowball at your place, I think by 3 points in week 3. So when you look at the matchup with East Snowball, obviously it's one of the best defenses in the entire state. You got a really good running back in Dylan Krell. They have a good running quarterback, by the name of Riley Biddle. You know what East Snowball is. They're physical. They're going to be a well-coached team. You look at that matchup at East Snowball, what are some things that stand out to you compared to where it was in week 3?
Well, I mean, I think just for us, I go back and I look at that film, and we're still in that growth phase, I think, where we're still trying to figure out, how good are we, or how good are we capable of, and so in the first half of that game, they had actually given us some opportunities, and we didn't capitalize on that, and so it probably should have been, instead of a 10-7, I think it was a 10-7. It probably could have very easily been, 17 or, but anyway, whatever. We didn't make plays. In the second half, they got a couple scores on us. We scored late to get it within 5. And then I think, right there towards the end of the game, they got another one so you're right. I mean, defensively, they're rock solid. Boy, they play as a unit extremely well. There's a lot of guys on that defense that play very selfless, in order for other guys to succeed. They rally to the football well, and they're fundamentally sound. Offensively, they're got great great size up front, and Dylan Krell on both sides of the ball is a factor, and I don't know where he's going to go to play, but somebody's going to get one heck of a old school football player.
Yeah, that is for sure with Dylan Krell and whatnot. Coach, I know it's only been 2 days since that championship game and whatnot. What's been the vibes been like with Huntington since coming back from Lebanon and having a chance to kind of process what went through on Friday night?
When you go through the growth that we have and starting to believe, hey, we're a good football team, and good things can be expected, and whether it's our kids or our parents, even, or even the community, as the season's going on, you can kind of hear, hey, here, and you guys are having a good year, and this and that, and then then to be in an environment like that Friday night was really pretty spectacular. I mean, like I said, there was, people I don't think you could have found a seat in the bleachers anywhere. And then for that game to end that way, just people were very grateful to have the opportunity to have such a great season. And they're happy for their kids. They're happy for the school and community. And we hope that this isn't a one-time thing, and we're building a solid foundation, and that next year we're not going to be a surprise.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we know Huntington North fans have been waiting for a long time to have a winning football team and whatnot. Coach, last question from me. This is your 15th season coaching football as a head coach. You spent many years coaching the East Side and helping East Side, having the success they've had over the years. Obviously, you're not the only one, but you've been a part of East Side's success and whatnot. Looking back in your time as a coach, what are you most grateful about now being a head coach and looking back through your career so far? Especially coaching your son at one point.
Right. That would not be one that I would say was a great experience. I don't know. I would not recommend that for anybody. We probably were two stubborn idiots, really, I guess. But no, I mean, we look back on it now, and it was. I think we've got good memories, more so now than we did then. But when I was at Eastside, there were those first 2 years were tough, and then by the end, we had had a pretty good record in the conference, and we were ranked, and we were headed in the right direction, and some good things were happening there. So I'd like to think that it was better when I left than when I had inherited it, for sure. But, as a head coach, when I was at Eastside, sometimes I felt like we had some really, really good kids and some great managers, and I didn't really appreciate it as much as I should. And then, some tough times at some other places coaching. And I swore if I came back to do this, that, I was gonna do everything I can to enjoy things a little better than maybe what I had previously, and I've tried real hard to do that, and we've got amazing kids who work hard, and it's been really, really fun to see them have success, and to be in this opportunity for them in this community. But yeah, I know I'm sort of at the end of coaching, probably. I don't know how long I'll do it, but I'm smart enough now to sit back and appreciate things a little more as we go through them.
Mm-hmm. This is Mike Eshbach, the head football coach of the Huntington North Vikings, as they set for their second ever regional game on Friday in Kentucky. Coach, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Nope. Just it's a fun time in Huntington, and we're gonna soak this thing up, and we're gonna prepare this week, and we're gonna do everything we can to keep this thing going for as long as we can.
All right, good to see, Coach. Good luck this week against East Snowball in the regional round.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the ANEC Sports Podcast. Please like this video and like the page ANEC Sports on YouTube. Let people know that the ANEC Sports is on YouTube. Also like our Facebook page at Around the Northeast Corner, and follow either Around the Northeast Corner and Sam Frick on Twitter/X. We're also on Instagram as well. Just look for ANEC Sports or Around the Northeast Corner, and you will find us there. You can also follow the man himself, Sam Frick, the founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, for other additional content. This has been an Around the Northeast Corner presentation.